Hello everybody! Welcome to another day of Bookmas in July, and today is going to be a really exciting kind of chill sit down video where I'm going to be talking to you about my top 10 favorite books so far. I'm sure these will change as I continue to read more in my life. These are books that I think about a lot, and they're definitely my 5-star reads as well, and I'm sure you've heard of a lot of these, but they're good. That's why everybody reads them, because they're good. It was very hard to choose because there are so many other books that I have on my 5-star list that I also just really love and enjoy, but these 10 are the ones that I just think about more often. We're gonna start off strong, and probably the majority of the booktube community probably has this book on their top 10, and that is Powerless by Lauren Roberts. I think the biggest reason why this book is in my top 10 list is because this was kind of more so the first dystopian-ish book I got into. I read the selection, but a lot of people said this book reminded them of like the Hunger Games, and I didn't read the Hunger Games at the time, so going into this and like reading about trials and stuff, I really enjoyed this book. Powerless is a YA romantasy novel following Peyton. She is an ordinary, and in this world, all the ordinaries got banished. Now the elites kind of rule and take over and want to get rid of all the ordinaries, but Peyton is an ordinary, but in order for her to kind of live amongst the elites, she pretends to have a psychic ability. Throughout this book, she kind of shows that and how she's able to kind of trick people into thinking that she actually has a psychic ability. And obviously we have Kai, who is our main male character in this book, and he is an enforcer. His job is to get rid of all the ordinaries. He can take anybody's power and kind of use it. He can copy their power is what I'm saying. Like, so if someone has a healing ability, he can also use that healing ability if they're in like short distance. But what he notices about Peyton is that he's not able to draw anything from her, and he thinks that's really weird, but she does a really good job of like pretending that she's psychic. Not only is he drawn to her because he can't read her, but also he just thinks that she's like the prettiest thing he's ever seen in his life. He definitely talks about it a lot. Kai is very swoon-worthy. This book was so good, and this book really just holds a special place in my heart, and honestly, I had a really good time reading it. And this is a trilogy, and all of the books are out besides the novellas, but the main story is Powerless, Reckless, and Fearless, and I've got done with all of those, and I loved all of them. So this is just a really good series, and I think this is a very good like gateway into wanting to read fantasy and romantasy and kind of like a dystopian vibe. Oh, also these are in no particular order either because it's just really hard for me to choose, but yeah, so these 10 books are in no particular order. And the next book I have on my list, this one is very hit or miss in the book space, I think. I feel like you either love it or you either hate it, and that is The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. I don't know what it was about this book, but this book is a very like slow burn romantasy. So I guess you would say it's mostly like the YA fantasy with little like subplots of like a little bit of romance. But this book follows our main character Jude, and her twin sister, they are humans, and then her older sister Vivian is Faye, and they were living in the human world for a little bit, and then they got taken and they went to the Fae world. So Jude and her sister Taryn, they are humans living amongst this Fae world. It's very interesting because you would think that Jude would want to just go back to the human world, but she really wants to be one of them and live amongst them as if she was Fae herself. And this book is basically following her wanting to prove herself to the court and like earn like a spot and just have like this honor. But all the Fae very much despise humans, so this might be very hard for her to accomplish, especially because the High King's son, Prince Carden, absolutely despises her. So basically, to win her place there, she needs to defy Carden and just kind of prove her worth. And what I really liked about this book is that just the world is very interesting. Like, you are following Jude kind of walk through this world of all these different creatures. Some of them have like deer antlers or like deer bodies or like tails and wings. Some are mermaids and sirens. Like, there's so many different like creatures in this world, and I really liked it. It pretty much gave like just a very fantastical vibe, and I just really enjoyed it. And Holly Black's writing is also very very lyrical and poetic and very much like fantasy, but you also have a touch of modern, you know, writing in here because Jude is obviously like a human. And the little slivers of romance that you get in this book is just really, really good. I was literally like kicking my feet. Like, I don't know what it was, but I love Carden. Carden is definitely at the top of my list of book boyfriends. I don't know what it is. I just like him. And the next book I have on my top 10 list is actually a sequel to a series. And this was very hard to choose because at first, like, I wasn't sure if this book was even a 5-star, but later on I decided it has to be a 5-star, and that is The Ballad of Never After by Stephanie Garber. This is the second book to the Once Upon a Broken Heart series. These are, I have the UK covers. This story follows our main character, Evangeline, and she just wants to be in love. And I really love Evangeline as a main character because you usually get like those main female characters that are badass and stoic and like don't take anything from anybody. But Evangeline is kind of different in that way. She is a little more gullible and she's a hopeless romantic and she just wants a happily ever after. So she is in love with somebody and she finds out that he is actually supposed to get married. So she goes and asks Jax, the Prince of Hearts, for help with this, but she makes a bargain with him, and with fairy bargains, they are more than you bargain for, really. So we are following her, and this is also a trilogy. The second book to me was just really, really fun because there was more romance in it. There was a lot of stuff going on, and just specifically at the end of this book, the way the author kind of like made this twist was so interesting and so cool, and I just can't believe I haven't read the third one yet. This also has a very fantastical vibe. I really like how the story went in this, and I think it set up very, very well for the third book. But these books are also kind of connected to the Caraval trilogy. You don't have to read Caraval, but I read Caraval and I really liked that I kind of knew like the backgrounds of stuff when going into this set of books, but that's obviously up to you. But I also really love Caraval too. I would definitely recommend those, but I think just this book in particular was just my favorite. Yeah, definitely it's like a fast-paced, like quick read. There were no slow parts. Stephanie Garber is very, very good at having something happen basically every second, and not a lot of people like that, but honestly I really like that because I tend to get distracted. So when there's something going on, I'm like, wait, what's gonna happen? So I just really, really, really enjoyed this book, and I definitely recommend this series. And the next book is actually also a sequel, and this one was very, very shocking to me when I rated it a 5 stars, and that is Keeping 13 by Chloe Walsh. You've probably heard a lot about this series. She just had a book called Releasing 10 come out, so this is like an ongoing series that follow this cast of characters. But the first two, Binding and Keeping 13, are about Johnny and Shannon, and these books are different because they are very like character driven books, so you're kind of just following the characters in their lives and just kind of them navigating their lives. Binding 13 to me wasn't like my favorite book of all time. It actually took me a while to get through because I had never read a book that was like very character driven, but then I got into this one, and this one got me hooked on the series, and now I can't wait to continue it. Shannon moves to Tommen College, and there she meets Johnny in a really funny way. Actually, he actually hits her with a what is that? Oh my god, a ball. I forget what do they play? Rugby. He hits her with a rugby ball and basically takes her to the nurse, and that's kind of like how they started their love story. But Shannon's life is very, very hard to read. She has a lot going on at home. That's pretty much how it goes. It's kind of just following Shannon and Johnny and them kind of navigating their life through like college, and there's drama, but sometimes there's petty drama, but sometimes the drama is like so crazy and will leave your jaw on the floor. And especially in this one was crazy, and so many crazy things happened in this book that literally like I was shook. It really made me want to continue the series, and definitely tread carefully when you go into these books. I know they're labeled as YA, but there's a lot of trigger warnings, so definitely be careful when you go into this book. As you read the book, you kind of get little slivers of like the other characters like personalities and like kind of what they're going through, and it makes you wonder, well, what's going on with them. So I absolutely cannot wait to continue the series, and I really am glad that I read Keeping 13. This was the one that got me hooked on it. And the next one, I feel like this one comes as a no surprise, and that is Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter. If you guys have followed me for a while, I think you know that I just have this love for cutesy YA romance books that take place in like high school and stuff. I love them because they just feel like super nostalgic. So this one is about Liz, and she is in high school and she has always been a hopeless romantic. She grew up watching those old romance movies like Pretty in Pink, Sweet Home Alabama, things like that, and she just really wants her happily ever after. And then suddenly she goes back to school one day and her longtime crush Michael has moved back into town, and she thinks this is the perfect opportunity for her to get her prom date and like just her happily ever after. But it's not that easy because Wes, her annoying next door neighbor, is getting in the way. And what she realizes is that Wes and Michael are like getting along and they are friends. So with Wes and Michael hanging out, Liz realizes that maybe she needs to get a little closer to Wes to also get closer to Michael. So basically Liz and Wes kind of come up with this scheme to just get her happily ever after. But with that though comes feelings that Liz never thought she would ever have for Wes. So it's just a really cute kind of enemies to lovers story, a love triangle kind of thing. It just felt very like fluffy and cute and just very nostalgic, and I just loved it so much. And the next book on my list I actually don't have a physical copy of, but this one is a thriller. I have this on my Kindle, The Only One Left by Riley Sager. This is a gothic mystery thriller book, more so mystery. So I remember I had read this after I had finished The House Across the Lake, and I really wasn't expecting much from it because honestly I thought it was gonna be bad. I didn't think I would like it at all. This book was just so good, probably one of the best mystery thriller books I've ever read. This one follows a girl named Kit, and she finds herself being sent to take care of Lenora in this big mansion overlooking the ocean, and it's just such a creepy vibe. The house is like tilted, the waves are always hitting the cliffside. But Lenora also has this very interesting past. So Lenora basically was accused of murdering her whole family. So she's basically just secluded herself in this mansion, but she is becoming older, she's bedridden, she has a lot of medications to take, so that's where Kit steps in and kind of takes the job. But ever since Kit starts staying there, really weird things start happening. Kit stays in the room right next to Lenora, right? And then late at night, she'll hear someone walking, but Lenora is bedridden, she literally can't walk. So it's just things like that that made it very, very creepy. And the plot twists in this book were just so good. And I remember staying up till 4 in the morning reading this book. Yeah, so that book is definitely super bingeable and so good, and the atmosphere that the author created for us to dive into was just really good, and I love the setting. That's like my favorite part about the book was the setting. And the next book is a romance, and this is, I'm sure also doesn't come as a shock to anybody. The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. This is the first Ashley Poston book I've ever read, and something that really sticks out with this book is not only is this book a romance, it's actually magical realism. And I absolutely loved the magical concept of this book. I didn't know how I was gonna feel about it because usually I like my books to be a little more like realistic, I guess, if we're talking about a romance book, but Ashley Poston did it so well. This book basically follows a girl named Clementine, and she's kind of in this life slump. Her aunt passed away. She inherited her aunt's apartment. So Clementine moves into said apartment, not thinking anything of it. Clementine kind of remembers that her aunt would say that this apartment is magical and stuff, but Clementine would kind of bat an eye and just be like, oh yeah, sure, whatever. She wakes up and there is this man in her apartment, and she comes to find out that he lives 7 years in the past. So they're literally like in different times but able to be in the same room, and it's literally only the apartment. Obviously it comes with them kind of like growing this relationship, but how will it work out? Because how will they find each other? Because they lived 7 years apart from each other, basically. Just the way that the author created this magical world, and the romance was just so sweet, and especially like the end where we're trying to piece together how are they gonna be together, what's gonna happen. It was just a very gut-wrenching book and a very good emotional romance book, and it was just great. I really loved it. If you're somebody that wants to get into romance books but just can't get into them, I definitely recommend reading a magical realism romance book, because they are so unique, and this book definitely, like, I never thought I'd be sad about lemon pies, honestly. The next book I have on my top 10 list, we are almost done, just 2 more books to talk about. This book is Caught Up by Liz Tomford. Okay, I rated The Right Move a 5-star, but Caught Up is definitely like a 6-star to me. Caught Up is so good. This is the Windy City series, and I think I have 2 more books left in the series now. Caught Up is about a guy named Kai, and he is a single dad. This was my first single dad trope, so I was definitely a little worried going into it, not because I think I wouldn't like it, but just because it's new and I wasn't sure how I was gonna feel. But Kai is a single dad with kind of I think he's like a 2 or 3-year-old son, I think, but he is a professional baseball player. Basically, he's super picky about like the nannies that he's had to take care of his son, which, you know, that makes sense. He is a very protective father. But with him being picky though, it's hard for him to focus on his baseball career because he keeps having to like worry about his son and things like that. And his boss basically comes up with a solution because he wants his daughter, Miller, to be able to attend like the baseball things that are going on, so that way him and Miller can spend more time together as like father and daughter. So he's like, what if I get my daughter to nanny for your son? And Kai essentially says, fine, whatever, after some convincing, obviously. Miller and Kai meet, and they just have like the funniest banter. They are hilarious. I love Miller as a character. She is very like headstrong, and she just really wants to make her dad proud after everything that he's done for her. And she just became a very relatable character to me. And I just really love the dynamic between the two and the way their relationship just grew throughout the book. And I know that these books are kind of long, but I honestly really like that because it's very fast paced. You can't even tell how long they are, but also it gives you more of a chance to kind of get to know the characters and connect with them. And I really loved this book, and this book made me cry. It made me cry, and I don't really cry at books like that. And it was just a really solid sports romance book, and I cannot wait to read the next book in this series because I just love this found family in this series too. It's just so good, and you get little slivers of past characters, which is always fun to read about, and then you also get little hints of what the next book is going to be about. And I know that this series is done now, and I'm going to be really sad when I read the last book, but I have 2 more to go, and I'm going to savor it for as long as I can because these books are just so good. And last but not least, oh my gosh, this picking the last book was kind of hard, but I had to add this book to this list because this book also has a very special place in my heart, and that is A Court of Mist and Fury. This is the second book to the ACOTAR series, and I think this book is a lot of people's favorites. So I didn't love A Court of Thorns and Roses when I read it at the time. When I read the end of it, I was like, what? This one? The world and the story that we're following in this one is amazing. It's just a big adventure, and it more focuses on the romance between Feyre and Rhysand. A lot of character development here, but I didn't even talk about what A Court of Thorns and Roses is about. I'm sure you've read it, but if you haven't read A Court of Thorns and Roses, it is about a girl named Feyre. She lives with her disabled dad. He kind of has a bad leg, I believe, and her 2 sisters, Elaine and Nesta. She does the majority of the work of taking care of her family, and the sisters and the dad really make you mad in the first book for sure. So she's doing all of this, and she's going hunting in the woods because her family needs to eat, right? She sees this creature in the forest, and she is aware of magical beings, and she knows that she's not supposed to kill them, but she shoots the creature anyway, not knowing that this was going to basically change her life forever. After that happens, later, a creature busts into their house and takes Feyre into the spring court. And that's what the first book is about, okay? A lot of it is kind of her just being in the spring court with, you know, Tamlin and things like that. But in that one, we meet a character named Rhysand. Feyre finds herself into trouble while she's in the Fey realm, and Rhysand comes to help her, and she doesn't understand why. It's a big adventure, and honestly, like, the second half of A Court in Thorns and Roses is really, really good. This one, honestly, is my favorite because, like I said, you get more development between Feyre and Rhysand, and there's a lot of, like, found family in this book as well. And just the adventure that you follow in this book is also super well done. I think the pacing is also super well done. There are scenes in this book in particular that I can just I think about all the time, and it's just really, really well done. I was super nervous getting into the ACOTAR series because I feel like I'm somebody that has a hard time understanding high fantasy books, and I don't know if these are considered super high fantasy, but I actually got through these just fine. I have 2 more books left in the series. I have to read A Court of Frost and Starlight and A Court of Silver Flames, but these are actually very easy to read. In the third one, I think I found myself confused a little bit, but this one definitely was just so good and super easy to follow and just swoon worthy, and the world is awesome, and just the story and the plot, the characters, the Bat Boys, everything. I loved it. But yeah, that is the end of today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hold on. I'm just sitting here editing, and I realized I missed a book. I don't know how I missed a book, but this isn't the end of the video. I can't believe I forgot to talk about Fourth Wing, okay? So Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros is definitely in my top 10. So Fourth Wing is an ongoing series. I believe it's called the Empyrean. It's called the Empyrean series. And this story follows Violet Sorrengail. And all her life, she thought she was going to be a scribe like her father, but her mother decides that she needs to attend the Dragon College and become a dragon rider. Violet is somebody that's very weak, very frail. She has some physical limitations, and she is so worried that something's gonna happen to her in the Riders Quadrant. And then she meets someone named Xaden, who obviously becomes something more later on, but they definitely have an enemies to lovers thing going on, because the first thing he says when he sees her is that he is gonna kill her, basically. So we're kind of following her through that, figuring out like her family and her life and just the secrets of like the dragons and the school and the war college going on. That's what it's called. It's called War College. It's a war college. But yeah, there's a lot of twists and turns in this book. This one was super well done. I really, really liked it. It's very much a modern fantasy, I guess you could say, in the way that the characters speak. It's very modernized, like how they would talk today. And I really like that, because sometimes when books are like super like fantasy-esque, I tend to not know what they're saying. So I kind of liked the modern take on this. It made it really easy to read, and this book has a really special place in my heart because this was like the first like big fantasy book that I read. Unfortunately, the third book wasn't my absolute favorite, but I'm really hoping that the 4th or 5th book will be just as good as this one. But yeah, I guess now we can go to the outro. But yeah, that is the end of today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope that you've had a fun time watching all of my silly Bookmas videos so far. And it's funny because I'm celebrating Bookmas, but I have like really done nothing Christmas themed. I'm not even wearing anything Christmas themed. There's no Christmas tree, but honestly it's because I'm too lazy to get out the Christmas decorations. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching today's video, and I will see you tomorrow for another day of Bookmas in July. Bye!